Hey guys, it's the Gundam Boy, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Slugger shotgun. Because after looking at those patch notes, I realized it did get a change. But don't worry, I'm not going to shove my Slugger in your face like a certain commissar. So if you want to get this weapon for yourself, it's in Helldivers Mobilize. You probably should have it by now. And if you don't have it, face the wall! I'm so tired of hearing that joke. The Slugger shotgun has had a very rough existence. One of the first patches this weapon got was that it reduced its stagger and reduced its damage. They later increased the stagger force, going up from 20 to 30, but they increased the spread from 6 to 20. And then they increased drag from 50 to 200%. And then they course corrected themselves, returning the spread back from 20 to 6, increasing the damage from 250 to 280, and then completely just gave in and gave it 330 damage and 90 durable damage. And sure, it hasn't received a lot of patches, but let me just say, there's a lot of time between all of these patches to make the weapon better. Almost like they need to make the game stable or something. And yes, Theo, that was me. It was the real Gundam Boy. I was just messing with you. You asked me and I got shy, so I didn't want to say yes initially. Taking a look at the Slugger, we can see it has a damage of 330, capacity of 16, recoil of 83, and a fire rate of 80. It has medium armor pen and round reload. So let's take a closer look at the actual damage, because it has 330 ballistic and it's 90 durable. And watch out for those extreme angles as it is doing unarmored penetration. Down below we can see some of the special effects. Its stagger force and push force is really high. So let's take a look at the attachments. There's nothing. There's nothing. It's just scopes. It's all optics. So we have the 1.52 red dot. We have the reflex sight. We have a holographic sight, we've got the Reflex MK2, and then we have iron sights, which is the only one that is capable of affecting your weapon stats. Again, Arrowhead, it is so evil of you to put the iron sights on level 23. Joke's on them though, I actually like having a sight on this one. Because unlike the rest of its Punisher brothers, the Slugger shoots, well, slugs, not being a crowd control weapon, but rather a precision killer, while still retaining the knockback features of the other Punishers. However, there is a lot of precision required in getting the most out of this weapon, meaning you should be aiming for weak points, like the head of an overseer. And another downside that I have to bring up about this shotgun is that it has some fat drag. That 200% wasn't joking, which means it chokes the damage at extended ranges, limiting the shotgun to close quarters. And I think the reason why Arrowhead did this change was because in the ancient past, this weapon was more like a marksman rifle than it was a slug shotgun. You must go for precision shots, and at ranges, it can be very painful because the damage is bad. But when they're within the weapon's effective range and you use it as a precision weapon, you can kill heavy devs and rocket devs with no problem. And even though this damage upgrade was nice, there's still weapons that it has to contend with that have similar functions. Think about something like the Jar Dominator, which was one of its biggest rivals, because where the Slugger got nerfed, the Jar Dominator rose and replaced it immediately. Like if you're using a weapon for close quarters, the Jar Dominator can practically do the same. It has more attachments, and it has no damage fall off. However, with the learning curve of the weapon's projectile speed. Then we have weapons like Deadeye, which is basically what people would try to use the Slugger for in the past as a long-range sniping weapon. Even if you use it in close quarters, it can also do the same amount of stagger. And this isn't something that I'm pulling out of Toxodiver's ass. You put the Jar Dominator and the Deadeye stats right next to the Slugger, you can see that they're very similar. Even down to the stats for their stagger force is pretty similar, which might make it harder for people that want to use it because there's just so many other guns.
Oh, but Gundam Boy, you're shitting on a classic gun! It's my
Not shitting on it, just an observation. With the shenanigans out of the way, let's see how it fares on the enemy fronts. Safe to say, if you're gonna shoot a voteless, they're gonna die. It's funny because they recoil it away like Mike Tyson's punching them. See, okay, now you're doing too much. Even if it's at extended ranges, the damage fall off doesn't matter because they hit so hard against these squishy bodies. But it will struggle in high intensity swarm situations where there's a shit ton of voteless coming at you. But you still have the benefit of the weapon being able to one-shot most voteless that you'll hit. Just be sure to keep a weapon on hand that is capable of dealing with massive swarms if it ever gets to that point. But if it's a voteless, they're dead. But up against their medium unit like the Overseer, it can slaughter. And since the Q-tip Overseers like to get into this weapon's kill range, it means you'll have the advantage. Excuse me, why? No way his balls just deflected the shot of a Slugger. He's too powerful, we have to kill him. You will end up spending more rounds killing them at the chest because they have that of armor, so it would be more effective for you to aim for their head, even if it's an elevated Overseer. But you know, elevated Overseers, they like to swarm you around like bees, so it might be a little harder to land this shot. But for the love of liberty, please bring a weapon to help counter off things like flesh mobs, as the shotgun by itself is not gonna cut it. You can kill it, but have you ever tried killing a cow with a butter knife? It already takes this much commitment to fire a few rounds at it, and it's still charging at you. I can't imagine having to do it against two of these guys. Against something like the horn of a harvester, it takes a couple of shots before it even breaks, especially if you're far away from it. I'd love to get close and shoot it in the horn, but I'm not wearing arc resist, and it typically does this if you get too close. Hey, it's the Gundam. Going up against something like the Squeagle, it does pretty bad. The Stingray flies so high up that the damage fall off kicks in with this shotgun pretty quickly. It takes a lot of effort and focus to kill this guy if you're gonna use the Slugger. Do not use the Slugger. It's a serviceable weapon on the Illuminate front, it's just not the greatest. I already see the comment, dog shit weapon, ah! It performs in a similar manner on the bug front, however, there is more bigger enemies you can actually use this gun against. Because against a large majority of the light chaff, it's Coughing Baby versus Atomic Bomb. Aiming for the head of a Bilespear, you can take it down within 3 shots, which is nice because I hate Bilespears. And sure, you can take it down in the head in 3 shots, but you can also aim for it in the mouth and kill it that way, but that's a little harder to hit. Only if I could hit it in the mouth. But I find that the weapon, when it goes up against massive groups of light chaff, is a little bit more difficult to get the hang of. You just gotta keep some space between you and them and make sure you get your gun loaded. Luckily for us, all the bugs on this front have massive heads, making it really easy to go for headshots. Going up against something like a Brood Commander, though, at close range, it can kill it in 2 shots to the head. But if that Brood Commander is doing the weird chicken thing where he runs away and calls in a bunch of enemies, then it could be a bit more stressful trying to kill him at range. Since the bugs rely on a lot of rushdown strategies, it means you'll be able to hold back a good portion of the bugs, but if they're swarming with them, that's where this gun starts to struggle. And if you're terrible with managing round reload weapons, then this gun is probably not going to be your jazz. Again, it's not a bad weapon on the bug front, it's still serviceable. It's just not the greatest one that I would personally use. A lot of the bigger enemies that you can juggle with this gun are typically the slower ones, or they run away in a completely different direction. Unless you're going on something like the Predator string. And let's move over to the automatons, where I find that this shotgun fares the best. Because if you're going up against something like a Berserker who will get into your effective kill range, it's 2 shots to the abdomen. Or you can aim for their face and watch them sputter. Automaton troopers just cannot survive this gun, and then again, they die when the air gets too hot. But it doesn't shine at killing things like troopers, but it's really damn good against the heavier units like the Devastators. Especially against heavy devs who like to block with that big ass shield. You can break their guard and finish them off, taking only around 3 shots to kill to the body, or you can take them down at the head in 1. Let me just say, this gun is an absolute bully for these guys. Because once you get good at it, you can flick your shots like no problem, making most Devastators an afterthought. And even if you mess up, you can still stun lock them until you get it. This is where I really started having fun with the Slugger shotgun. Because the automatons love to throw a lot of their heavier units like heavy devs, rocket devs, and such, it gives the Slugger shotgun its exact prey. But this requires you to get within slugging distance of them. As previously mentioned, it does have some terrible damage fall off. While it is the best at long range combat, it has its place in some loadouts. The Slugger can carry itself with no problem on the bot front, not needing too much gear to really compensate for its power. But I do like wearing a heavy siege ready because it lets you reload faster. Too bad it doesn't help people realize why they're not liked. That's right, this guy was upset that I didn't want to play with him when he started the conversation like this. Mind you, I didn't even say anything. I just left and he joined just to kill me. On the bug front, I like to pair the Slugger with the Guard Dog. Doesn't even matter which one, I could take either and I think I'd be just fine. Guard Dog kills all the little enemies and I finish off the bigger guys. However, I'd have to say on the Illuminate front, I find myself just using the machine gun more than I use the Slugger, as there's not too many armored enemies with only Overseers existing. Overall though, if you don't mind using this weapon in extremely close quarters against the enemies, then this is a perfect weapon for you. It doesn't have a lot of attachments and it's not the flashiest weapon in the game, but it doesn't mean that it's useless, as it has a lot of use cases in close quarters situations. I mean, think about when we were fighting on Osha Une. When the Rapture strain got removed from the game, they put the Predator Stalkers there instead. But that's the end of my video. What do you guys personally think about the Slugger? I think it's a pretty alright gun. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. And if you know what this is from, you need to go outside and touch some grass and eat it and sniff it and do something, please. Why? I couldn't unsee Kai's video. God damn it.